Today on the breakdown, we're talking about the Sterling Arms R18, an AR-180 platform rifle, not available in the States, but is taking Canada by storm. But before we go any further, I do want to thank today's sponsor, the Range Langley. They're actually allowing me to go use their facility today to record this video, so a big thank you to them. If you're in the Metro Vancouver area or the Lower Mainland, then you're definitely going to want to check out the Range Langley. They are Canada's largest indoor shooting range. They have a wide selection of firearms that you can try out, just like this R18 here. So I want to preface this video by stating that this is not a full review of the Sterling Arms R18. This is just an interview with a good friend of mine who has the most extensive experience with the Sterling Arms R18 outside of Sterling Arms. So with that being said, I'll actually be doing a full review of my R18 once I've reached 1,500 rounds. And so we'll take it from there.
Hey man, how you doing?
How's it going, brother? So tell everyone that's watching a little bit more about yourself, your experience, and how you are kind of the subject matter expert when it comes to rifles and, well, the R18 in general.
All right, well, my name's Alex. I am the armorer here at the Range Langley. Training-wise and for background, I've been in the Canadian Armed Forces for 12 years as a weapons technician. So we are the specialists that basically repair everything that goes bang. And at the Range Langley, things go bang here.
So just so that we're clear, Alex is not sponsored by Sterling Arms, has no affiliation with them, and the views expressed in today's video do not reflect the Range Langley or any of our associates. Alex, as the armorer of the Range Langley, you see every firearm that comes in and out of the Range Langley. You work on everything. Tell me, there's two rifles of the R18 that you guys purchased here.
That's
and
correct,
you bought
yep.
that back in September of last year.
Yep.
Between both rifles, how many rounds have gone through each rifle?
So both rifles have seen about 30 to 32,000 rounds. This rifle of itself, the one that's still running, the other one went down for long-term wear and tear issues. This one has seen just over 47,000 rounds.
Good Lord, 47,000 rounds, that's a lot. And like, so, I mean, that leads basically to my next question that most guys ask, like, is it reliable? What are the high wear and tear parts that normally guys would have to go replace? Because, like, yeah, I don't really know a whole lot of guys that have actually run that amount of ammunition through even one rifle.
Yep, we are the leading, basically, testing grounds for the R18s. I'm on pretty much a bi-weekly basis talk with the general manager at Sterling Arms, just giving him feedback over how these things perform, wear and tear issues. So to what you were saying, reliability, these are pretty reliable rifles for what the price point is. There are more reliable rifles out there, but you're going to be paying for that reliability. High wear parts, it's going to be the extractor pin on the bolt. That part loves to walk out, shear, bend, what have you. That's an easy fix. It's really about it.
That's really about it.
That's really about it. Original lower receiver, original trigger mech. The magazine catch does have some wear on it, so that's an easy fix. You just tighten it down. I would recommend eventually, personal preference, I'd replace it with an ambidextrous one because it's not an ambidextrous one that comes stock, but it does the job. The piston assembly, I cannot say enough good things about the reliability there compared to, say, other firearms of the AR-180 platform, that if a piston breaks, it's usually a catastrophic failure. The gun is essentially done, or it's a bolt action. Yeah. This thing here, this exact gun, I had the piston break on it. I had no idea it was broken, and it ran for about 4 months.
Sorry, say that again, just because gunfire is loud.
The piston in this gun broke, and the gun kept running for about 4 months with a broken piston.
With a broken piston. Okay, so I guess that really just speaks volumes to the reliability of this firearm. And now, the version that you have right now is, I would probably still consider this like, this is still like the earlier version of like 2.0. Now, this is obviously my newer rifle, new edition. Obviously, we got the newer rail, we got the newer trigger. We'll get into this one in a bit. Definitely the full review is going to be coming out on this one, but you can actually see the difference that Sterling Arms has made great strides and upgrades just in the last year, just within all the minor different changes that they've done. So it's fantastic to see, even with the first iteration, it is very reliable in my opinion. So, well, that being said, let's go over some of the pros and cons. So like, what are some of the pros that you would give this rifle over some of the other competition that we see out there?
So it's non-restricted, straight up. It's available. You can take this out in the bush. Don't have to worry about being in violations of the firearms code. Reasonably accurate for what it is. The R18 design is not a design that's inducive of high accuracy because it's a piston gun and because the R18 is designed with loose tolerances. Sterling's taken that design and just refined it, and yeah, you're able to get, I'd say 1.5 MOA at 100 yards. Sorry, correction, 100 meters.
100 meters.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All the lower receiver parts are interchangeable with any commercially available AR-15 parts. So if you get a aftermarket AR-15 trigger, or say you do happen to have an AR-15 from back in the good old days, and you decide, okay, I want to strip some of those high-end parts out, you can run that in the Sterling.
Wow, that's fantastic. Some of the cons, what would you say some of the cons would be? Because everyone's always going to say, oh, they're paid shill.
Yeah.
They're just, yeah, like, they're gonna say like you didn't give anything negative regarding the rifle. Like,
oh, no worries. There's some negatives. So weight is one of these. It is a heavy rifle. It comes in right here as is with everything you see, just over the 12.5 pound mark, and especially for inexperienced shooters, they find it very heavy. Lack of a grip that it comes with. So we had to put a foregrip on this thing just to help mitigate some of the maintenance issues. So one of the issues we came across was new shooters, they tend to do a magazine well grip. So they'll take their hand and they'll grip around the magazine well like so. And especially when you're using other magazines that are not Magpul magazines, you get some wiggle. And that little bit of play was enough to cause some damage and shearing in the upper receiver. Now,
which is probably what the first rifle going on, right?
Yep. Now I basically identified this problem and worked some problem-solving fixes, and eventually came up with the idea of, hey, let's put basically a cut-down version of the firing pin spring behind the bolt, just to give the bolt some retention when it comes forward and picks up the round. And you're basically reducing wear and tear on the receiver. Now that's not saying that the gun's going to eat itself in the first few mags. No. This is over the course of thousands, if not coming up on tens of thousands of rounds. So it was around the 12 to 18,000 round mark is when we first started having the initial issues. Yeah. And then we were able to iron out those issues around the 20 to 22,000 mark. And I was working with Sterling, developing the fix. We've identified the root cause of the problem, and they're now using that fix on all the rifles. The rifle is picky with magazines, so he'll have almost any AR mag will fit into it, but reliability, that's where things start coming into question. It's not the gun's fault. Some of the magazines will be able to be over-inserted, which will lead to failures to feed, misfeeds. Other magazines will be too loose in the mag well, which again results failures to feed, failures to cycle. Other than that, ammunition. We run pretty much exclusively brass cased ammunition through here. We don't run steel case through just because that is increased wear and tear on parts like the extractor and the ejector, as well as the side of the receiver. As you can see, we'll show the camera in a moment, but you can see the wear and tear, the pitting from the casing striking the shell defender.
No, I've seen that. So now, Sterling did offer originally the R18 with Magpul PMags. The Gen 3 seems to work the best just because the Gen 2 were starting to fall out. They were quite loose. They now do offer it with the Elander mags, 5-rounders. So working with those two magazines, I don't think you would have an issue. You haven't seen any issues with either of those two, correct?
Not the PMags at all, and not the Elander 5-rounders. There are other Elander mags out there, like the 458 SOCOM mags. They're a hit or miss, just depending upon is your magazine catch tight enough. Just because those magazines do not have a deep enough recess pocket for the magazine catch to engage as properly as it would with, say, a Gen 3 PMag. Gotcha.
So for all of you boys out there thinking, hey, I'm gonna run these 458 mags, probably best not to. Comparatively with the other AR-180 platform rifles out there, would you rate this the top dog, top tier out of all of them, or is there one that's better?
I'll put it up in the upper echelons, but it is not the top of the top of the hill there. The CZ Bren 2 is going to be the one that's above that, but don't forget, price point matches reliability in this case.
Okay.
And $2,700 roughly versus for a non-restricted CZ Bren 2, I've seen upwards anywhere from $4,700 to $5,200.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that, because there is a number of people out there who will argue day in and day out and say, oh, forget about the AR-180s made by Canadians. They're not good, they're not reliable. Just get a CZ Bren 2 or get an APC, B&T APC. And how would you argue with that? Because of the fact that, in my opinion, it's either double or triple the price for both of those rifles. So, in your honest to God opinion, how would you argue against that?
Your wallet, simple as that. Do you want a rifle and a bunch of ammo with the ability to customize it, or do you want to just have the rifle for those price points?
There you go.
For the price point, I compare this to other firearms out there, like the Kodiak WK-180, the Siberian, and the CZ Bren 2. Mm-hmm. It falls in the upper category. I'll start from the bottom. You have the WK-180. It reflects that in price.
Yep.
That's not a bad gun, but as people know, lots of snap pistons. It's a design feature that is synonymous with the AR-180. They just love to snap pistons. Mm-hmm. Go up to the Siberian for the next price point. It's not bad. I haven't had enough time to really give a good opinion of it, mm-hmm. other than there are some issues that the company is aware of. Then you have sit at the R18. So the R18 sits at that higher tier. Yes, it's expensive, sits at $2,700 Canadian, but I've never had a piston catastrophically snap on me and then seize the firearm. I actually had a piston break on this thing, and I didn't know it was broken for about 4.5 months.
Wow.
It kept running.
It's a good rifle.
For the price point, yes, it's very good. Now, I do have to make a distinction that if you're gonna buy one of these rifles, if you're buying it as an individual, it is a great rifle to buy. Mm-hmm. Just make sure you lube it, clean it, do what you need to do to upkeep it. All that information's in the owner's manual. If you are a range or a business wanting to employ these things and you're gonna put a lot of rounds through them, you have to have an experienced armorer or gunsmith on roster because of the amount of time and maintenance these things need. I've sunken in upwards of 200 hours since we got these things, mm-hmm. just to keep these running.
Cool. So good information for anybody that's going to be running and gunning these a lot. The reliability is there, but of course, like Alex said, you do need to be able to upkeep your rifle. It's been a year since you've actually received this one here, or just about coming up on a year, because you got these in September of last year, 2022. Now, you've had some time between this rifle and of course my rifle, which you zeroed for me. Thank you, by the way.
No worries.
And as you guys can already tell on screen, there's been some significant upgrades. Of course, there's been upgraded rail, now skeletonized here. with the top Picatinny rail. It's now a full rail. And then of course it's got the Arca rail on the bottom here in the first section. It now does have the TriggerTech duty trigger as opposed to the standard mil-spec trigger on here. But with just the differences that you see in the two rifles, how'd you like it?
I like it a lot. So I enjoyed the new handguard, the fact that now you got more Picatinny space with negligible weight increase. The rail itself was not bad. It is proprietary to the Sterling Arms R18, but I have yet to see something that'll fit into these hexagon-shaped pieces up top.
Yeah.
TriggerTech trigger, I like how it feels. It's very crisp, it breaks. I'm really curious to see how it's going to be at the 10,000 round mark.
As I said, Mike Scott and the team over at Sterling Arms International, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure in your opinion too, they have done a fantastic job with the R18. They've taken a lot of the feedback from not only guys like yourself, but also the consumers like yourself who, you know, just criticize. So, in my opinion, I think they've done a fantastic job. There's obviously things that could be done better, and no rifle is without sin. There's always going to be something that you're going to have issues with, and so I'm sure, Alex, yourself, like, you've experienced some problems with the rifles, but just the fact that it's actually gone up, you know, past 30,000 rounds for the first, or for one of the rifles, and then of course you figured out what the problems and issues were there, and then you were able to kind of correct it and now take this guy up to close to 50,000 rounds. So that's amazing.
Yep.
In closing out, is there anything that you want to go say to everyone at home? Like anything that you want to go, you know, mention about, you know, the rifle itself?
Yep. So unless you're a trained professional, unless you know firearms intimately, I don't recommend going beyond the owner's manual and how far you take this thing apart. Now, as I said, I'm a weapons technician in the military, and this is my bread and butter. I can navigate, I can figure this out. Unless you have incredible technical acumen or formal training, I do not recommend going beyond the owner's manual for what it says to take it apart. So there's some bits in here that if you don't know, it's going to be hard to find. And I've actually had to call Mike a couple times, like, hey, I'm this far, what do I do next? It doesn't say anything in the manual. He's like, okay, I know you're doing this. Okay, this is what you got to do. And oh, all right, piece of cake.
Very cool. All right.
But that is after 12 years of hard-learned experience in the military.
Well, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Definitely want to go thank you, Alex, for coming out today.
Anytime, man.
And just showcasing and sharing your knowledge regarding the R18. If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure to put them in the comment section down below, and I'll definitely refer it back to Alex. Alex is not on social media, but I would love to have him back for another episode of The Breakdown, so we can actually break down rifles and other guns as well, like handguns, shotguns, those types of things. So you guys can discover a little bit more of what's available here in Canada. Also at the same time, make sure to go check out the Range Langley. They are today's major sponsor for this video. They allowed us to go film here. We're actually on their TAC range. They are Canada's largest indoor range. So if you are looking to go test out some guns, definitely want to go check out the Range Langley if you are in the Lower Mainland or Metro Vancouver area. But aside from that, guys, hope you liked today's video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new, and I will catch you all next time. Again, my name is Dre, this is Alex, and we'll see you all next time.